Time being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Board of Health meeting to order. All members are present with the exception of Kevin Whalen and Clay Kelly. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, we're going to adjust the order a little bit of the agenda tonight, meaning that our announcements are actually going to move down past our health agent report. So we're actually going to begin with our discussion on action items this evening. The first one to discuss is the vote on a nip bottle prohibition and stable fee warrant articles to submit for annual town meeting, annual town meeting, sorry. So each one of our board members should have a copy of the two warrant articles proposed here. The first one, I'll just read both of them out so everyone who's at home listening can hear. First one is to see if the town will vote to amend the alcoholic beverages bylaw to add section 7-4 as follows. The sale of alcoholic beverages in containers less than or equal to 100 milliliters is prohibited within the town of Abington, effective January 1st, 2025. The second is to see if the town will vote to amend the animals bylaw to add Article 3, Section 11-10, stables as follows. Every owner of a stable shall license it with the Board of Health. The fee for such license shall be $40. The license shall be valid until sale and or transfer of property. We talked about the nip bottle ban at the previous one. The stables one is because we know we needed to put a fee together to town meeting, and that's not contingent on the regulation passing. It just needs to be done, period. So we figured we would stick that in now, get it taken care of, and then we can always work with whatever regulation we put into place to apply that.
Yep. We had something, the 40 is the initial license, and then we were gonna have a yearly, it needs to be checked yearly, or is there a yearly cost as well? I just wanna make sure that that's
the way this is
clear.
worded is that the license shall be valid until the sale and or transfer of property, so it's $40 once, and then that's it.
And then never again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what, I just wanted to confirm that we had
Yeah, so
talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, you get the permit, and it's valid once it's issued.
Okay.
Indefinitely until the property is sold or transferred.
Okay, I just wanted to,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we tried to make sure that was worded appropriately for that.
yep, no, I have that here, okay, just wanna make sure.
Good, okay.
Still Monday,
Do you need
guys.
a motion?
We will, unless there's any discussion and things, but yes.
No?
I feel confident about both of those.
Yeah, we can do them at once if you'd like. That'd be
Sure.
fine.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant articles regarding nip bottle prohibition and stable fee for annual town meeting.
All right, motion to approve the two warrant articles here is written. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Amanda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it is unanimous for those who are here. So those will be sent, they are due Monday, so we get them in ahead of the deadline and make sure those are good to go. What was that?
Can't believe that's already.
I know, it's coming up quick. All right. With that out of the way, we can move on to our next item, which is a discussion on animal regulations. We are very happy to have our animal control officer, Joe Kenny, with us. Joe, do you want to come up and introduce yourself, name and address, because I know you are a resident as well.
Yes.
And, yeah, well, actually, if you want to sit right there. Got the nice microphone put up for you and everything.
Awesome. Joe Kenny, 172 Russell Lane, as well as animal control.
Joe, thank you for coming and chatting with us about animal regulations. I know you did get a copy to look at and
Yes.
things. Is there anything you kind of wanted to touch on before maybe we ask you a few questions? And
Yeah, so there's a couple of things as far as like the process of going through this
Sure.
that are gonna be a little bit demanding for the average person as well as the town. So there's talking about like, some of the things include like going in front of a board to get approval for these things.
So we
I-
changed some of that.
Okay, so I don't have that
Changes.
updated one.
Yeah, so we have, so like under hearings, if there's a variance, application or variance request, we said variance requests in front of the board. Otherwise, it's just an application to the health department. Because we didn't want to have every chicken owner come here. That seems
Yeah.
ridiculous. So we changed that so that it said, like under, I think you're talking about like section 7, construction and construction changes, no person shall erect, occupy, whatever,
Yeah,
without submitting an initial revised plan to the health agent or the board for its review.
yeah,
So we said health agent, so that they don't have to come here.
come here.
Yeah,
Okay.
so then that changes where they can come, they're not dependent on our schedule.
Or it might have been Board of Health or its agent, is might
That's
have what
what
we
it is,
worded,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's also like the plot plans, like if you do that, you'd have to have a land survey done. Which is pretty pricey for somebody to keep 6 chickens in their yard. When they sell chickens for $3 at Tractor Supply,
Less sometimes.
and they sell thousands of them every spring. It's gonna be a little,
Think-
that's under,
Yeah,
I think
it's,
it's section 5.
section 5, it looks like it's number, sorry, Roman numerals, not my structure 4.
So I think when we had talked about that, a hand-drawn plot plan is acceptable so long as it is of sufficient detail and quality to allow for board review, is the last sentence.
Yes. Yep.
So we were, and that actually should be changed to allow for, board or health agent review. And I think the understanding was, if you can just draw it and it seems reasonable,
Seems
that was,
reas-
we were okay with that.
Okay. So.
I own a bunch of chickens, so I
Yeah,
knew this, and
yeah.
I was like,
So
I'm
it's
not
ki-
doing
yeah,
that.
Yeah, so, which
So
I'm
I also
all
went through-
for,
yeah.
yeah. There's
So
a
there was
lot of
this-
people in town that have like
Exactly.
chickens and stuff. So I
Goats and
wanna
other
make the,
things. So
yeah,
and I asked my friends as well, and it's the understanding of if we're looking at, I mean, now you're talking about though like corrals and other things, that becomes a larger, that part of the
Larger,
stable thing.
yeah.
But if you're looking at, you know, just the chickens, we literally say a hand-drawn plot plan of this is where we're gonna put it. Hey, that does look like it's a little too close to your fence. Where are you actually putting it? Have you measured that out?
Okay.
Kind of thing. But all of that also comes into play with the structures. We're doing it under the, building.
department.
Yeah, which also same thing is, because I looked into this as well, a chicken coop, as long as it's under 10 feet,
Yeah.
it's not considered a structure. Even like the run doesn't
So-
count towards that.
Right.
So this is really just the hand-drawn plot plan. Where are you putting your Tractor Supply chicken coop in your yard?
Yeah.
That's all we're
Do we
asking
Put that
for.
wording in there about land survey, or just say a plot plan, not requiring land survey, or do we not wanna tie ourselves in like that? Cause I agree, like if it doesn't say it, are people gonna expect that they have to
The
have?
only reason
Well, it
I'm
says
saying,
hand-drawn is acceptable.
Oh,
so
down
long-
below, I see
Yeah,
that.
so that's what I'm,
Okay,
I would leave this because then all of a sudden, if you have someone that buys 5 acres and they're trying to put in all this stuff and they haven't done, they don't know
The
where their
land
wells are
survey.
or their septic systems.
then they have to,
And wetlands, and I would like to have that there if they're trying to build,
okay.
you know, a stable and corral and a paddock and stuff, right? Like we wanna, that's part of this, is
Mhm.
having that available.
So leaving it less detailed is better in this circumstance.
Think so?
Hand-drawn plot plan, do we
Or-
wanna
so
say
the
pending
only,
size?
the only issues I see with these, because I've seen it in other towns, is when you have specific laws written, the town has to abide by those laws.
Right,
So if it's worded wrong, it's gonna affect a lot of departments, because that means zoning boards are gonna be out there.
Right.
That means you guys are gonna be out there doing inspections. That means the building inspector's gonna have to go out. This is gonna be a lot of extra work on a lot of departments. And this also, I mean, this is chickens, ducks, rabbits. This is not like just horses, cows. This isn't for large-scale farms. This is for the average homeowner.
it's tricky.
It's a very difficult, like, wording process to make these. In a lot of towns, what they do is they require, so the primary purpose of doing laws like this is to keep track of what's in the town for farm animals and where they are. In most small towns, without getting super complicated, what they do is they require you to get a barn permit, which is essentially your $40 fee. You get your barn permit for your animals. And then that way, the town does a barn inspection every year, in which case, that is where you tally what is on the property for animals,
Right.
and that's kept the records of. That's what the state actually collects and keeps track of for Mass Department of Agriculture. As opposed to doing something like this is gonna set in excess laws in town that now we need someone in the town to enforce.
Which would
And-
probably be you.
It
As
wouldn't,
our neighbor, we
unfortunately,
can't be.
unfortunately, in this case, it wouldn't be me.
No.
Okay.
This would be Board of Health, so this would be
Yep.
right down here. So, and that also means when people don't apply to these laws, say somebody goes down at Easter and buys 10 chickens at Tractor Supply,
Yeah.
and they don't have this permit, in these cases, that means you'd have to remove the animals because it didn't go through these processes, so they can't be on the property. So when you get neighbor A telling us that they got 5 chickens out in the yard and they don't like them anymore, that means we have to step in, take those
That would
chickens
be
out
okay,
of
though,
the
'cause
yard.
anything under 6, we don't worry
Yeah,
about.
so,
It
but
has to be
even
over
6,
That's
so
still-
6 is the state minimum.
Okay.
The average people, when you go to buy chickens, I only say this because I've been
You've seen it.
seeing animals bought and sold my entire life. Buying chickens, you order them online, you might buy 100 chickens, right? And out of that 100 chickens, because you're looking at 50% of those might be male,
Yeah, if there's.
right? You might lose 20% of those, so that's how you get your 20 hens.
It's called chicken math.
It's chicken math. It doesn't, it's not, you get 20 chickens in Tractor Supply and they all come out to be perfect little hens. Unfortunately, the agricultural world doesn't work like that. Or if you're raising chickens to eat, right? And I know there's people in town that do that as well. They go down, they buy their chickens. It takes 12 to 16 weeks and they're
8 to 10
processing
weeks, yeah.
chickens and they're buying 5, 6 batches of chickens from different people throughout the summer, right? And they might buy 25 chickens, 30 chickens in a batch just to put their freezer up for the winter.
Right, they don't even have them for the year.
They have
And
for a
I
very
think- I
short
forgot
period
about
of
the
time.
wheat bird.
There's a lot of stuff in this agriculture department, and then you were talking about things like quail that you
Right.
can legally own in Massachusetts. You have a quail rack, just one quail rack. It's a 3 foot by 2 foot deep thing, 5 feet tall. You might have 300 birds in that. And that, I know there's at least a handful of people in town that keep those. So we're looking at things that are affecting a lot of different play here, where when we're talking about poultry numbers aren't your 5 chickens in the backyard of one house, right? Like, not everyone keeps birds for the same purpose. And they're not all the same kinds of birds. There's people I know in town that do show birds. People that do show birds, they might have to raise 15 to 20 birds to get one bird for show. And they may be required to have a rooster for show. This is stuff like 4-H does, right? So now you eliminate that. There's people in town that keep pigeons.
Yeah, we said we didn't have any restriction, we got rid of the rooster cockerel restrictions, we didn't say anything. We said
Yeah.
We could have those, so.
But there's wordage in here for like other fowl. There's stuff for like the wild, non-exempt wild animals. There's also rehabbers located in town. There's stuff like that keep other animals, turkeys,
Yeah,
stuff that falls, pheasants, which are, you can get a pheasant permit, and I'm not in Mass Wildlife. I don't know who's issued pheasant permits, but that's a state thing.
right.
You can get your pheasant permit and raise your pheasants. They do pheasant dogs. I know there's people in town that have pheasant dogs. There's a lot of complexions to this that we might not have.
So I guess my question is your recommendation to throw this away and start from scratch?
I-
Because there's a better way?
I think what you have here is pretty good.
This was
I-
from the Mass
Yeah,
Association.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is great, and I think like maybe removing some of the wordage, simplifying it,
Sure.
is gonna make it easier for the town to comply with things, as well as give us a good idea of what's in the town and who has animals.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, thinking about why we opted to go animals versus just stables as we were looking at, is because we don't know. what's here.
Right.
And trying to find a way to
Yeah, so
regulate
it's,
that.
it's
so.
hard. So Massachusetts requires, like, you can do like barn inspections, it's for mass agriculture. Actually, I think there's a new person now, but there's, a person that's in charge of mass agriculture, and they do like barn inspections, so you're looking at like fowl, sheep, goats, swine, horses, donkeys, all that stuff. There's people in town that have alpacas, there's people in town that have, there's a llama in town, like, a lot of that kind of stuff that gets encompassed into this. Versus if you do like some of the other towns and do a barn registration, so if you have any of those animals, they're required to register their barn, right? So on that barn registration, you can write, like, I have 10 chickens, I have 3 cows, I have this, I have that. And there's different zones that might, like, say, down, like, North Abington or something, right, like in the center, or you say different sections of town. I don't know the zones, I'm not a zoning
You're good,
person.
you're good.
But, whatever the zoning is, there's towns that say, like, no pigs, right? There's towns that say no cows on this, in your residential area, right? Depending on the zones, but
So we should probably look into
I
that.
I think there's some areas in this that are gonna create a lot of work for a lot of departments where we, as a town, don't have
Manpower.
the manpower to enforce something that's this specific.
Sure. I think there's value too in us trying to regulate this if we broaden that up a bit too, because then we don't have to spend so much time trying to research every single scenario,
Right.
as opposed to, we can do something a little more general like that. If that's what you see
Yeah,
the trend
and
being.
I do
yeah.
think this is something that I was actually kind of, when you first brought it up to me, before reading through this completely, I think it's a very important thing
Yeah.
to have an idea as to what's in the town for animals. Because there's also like the ability, like say there was some kind of an emergency, these are supposed to be things that are in our emergency response plans. And in order to do that, like, we should know where there's horses, we should know where there's cows, we should know where there's pigs, we should know that. And it makes my job as animal control easier as well. If I get a loose pig running around, which has happened several times, if I get a loose pig running around and I'm out there catching a pig, the town doesn't necessarily have a place to keep a pig. So where's it gonna go, right? It's easier if we're like, hey, look at these people in the area have registered pigs, and I can check with them to see whose pig is missing.
Right.
We wanted to make it easier too for someone who wanted to get these animals or do this, having that, some information available.
Yeah,
Do you have examples of different municipalities where you like their animal regulations?
so Whitman, I actually like Whitman's.
Okay.
Whitman has a very, it's simple, but it's efficient enough to keep track of it, and it's not overbearing on people. It's easy enough, you can go down and register your chickens. I think, don't quote me on this because I'm not in charge of it, but I think theirs is an annual fee. It's pretty low.
That's what we're gonna try to.
Like
So,
I think we're
it's
trying
like
to
$5. I
yeah.
think, I think they're trying to bring it to 10 or something, but it's right now $5. You go down, you apply at the Board of Health, you fill out a piece of paper, your address, and then comes barn inspections. They have a whole list of all the people that have registered barns, and you send out an animal inspector, which in most towns there's 3 or whatever, and it's, you divvy up the list, you can go through, check, yeah, they get food, water, they get clean things, and on that inspection, there's an area where you list out what's on the property.
Okay.
So that is not a public, that information, because I actually just did a training with this. So the Massachusetts doesn't want people to feel like, the farming community is a big thing. So if you feel as though your animals are gonna be at danger, right? Because now 25 people know you have a $70,000 horse in your backyard,
Yeah.
right? Everyone can go down and find that out. Or you have, which I know this sounds
Show
crazy,
goats or-
show goats, or you have something, they can go through and find out where your animals are. That isn't necessarily something that should be listed out to a
No.
public information. The Mass Agricultural Departments get those lists, so the only ones that can see it are animal inspectors and the Mass Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
And that's where they keep specifically what's on properties, but the towns know where there are animals. So it's a
Cool.
little bit,
Okay, I like that. Also to
Yeah.
explain to people too, we're not trying to like track all your info. We're just trying to
Yeah,
get an
and
idea
that's
for
the-
safety and for all these other
Yeah,
things, but
'cause-
it's not something that we will then publish later. That's nice
right,
to
and
know.
that's it makes it more private
Yeah.
for people, and so it protects the farming community,
Mm-hmm.
people that keep animals for agriculture. And I'm saying this because it's a real thing. There's people that eat meat, there's people that don't agree with eating meat. So if your neighbor 3 houses down has his goats that he's gonna eat comes Easter, right? And neighbor 7 houses down doesn't agree with it, having that as public information
Yeah.
can lead to some issues that don't necessarily,
We don't want to deal with.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
point.
This is really helpful.
Yeah, so I think what I'm gathering from this might be good to do. I think we should look at Whitman, for example. I think that's a good idea, if that's something you think
I
it
think
works well.
Whitman has a pretty good program for this.
Because what
And we want somebody that's local and in our area, like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very
Rockland
local
Pole.
thing. Rockland does similar,
I looked at
procedure.
Rockland's, theirs is really is pretty helpful too.
Yeah, I know that one of my objectives with this was to kind of Frankenstein something together based on what we needed to do. And we're starting with the template. This is moving in the direction I
And
know.
we've cut quite a bit
Yeah.
out of this that you didn't.
oh, yeah, no, I
Like,
pulled
quite a bit
I
has
pulled
been
it up
crossed
online to
out,
read it,
yeah.
yeah, I pulled it up.
Yeah, so I mean, it,
What
I'm
you
sure
have,
you-
we've already
yeah.
said no.
so it might be kind of better too to look at a little bit less and then compared to almost too much in a way, and we can
Right.
find that Goldilocks place in the middle,
Yeah.
because,
I think it's
Yeah.
reasonable.
yeah.
And like I said, I do think it's important, I think it's gonna be super helpful for a lot of departments, to have a list of where things are in town, like who has animals in town. One, because it keeps track of, like I said, for me, things that are loose, great. But also it helps for things like Board of Health, stuff like that,
Well, your rat
if
maintenance too.
something,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
if
know,
something
6
comes
people
up.
in this neighborhood are feeding
Yeah,
rats, and
right, if
7
they're
out of 8
gonna-
of them have chickens. That
we-
might be
we
a
know
reason why.
Yeah. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
exactly.
our deputy emergency management director is my coworker, so we can share that information and keep it encapsulated in the office too. So
Right.
That's helpful.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think it's,
Right, this was really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
yeah,
you.
no problem.
Yeah, no, nobody's, any other questions, anything? No?
So
Alright.
it sounds like everything falls under a barn registration, even if it's just chickens, even if it's a
So-
horse.
yeah,
So
so-
just like the fines for that, we'll have to talk about, because it was like 40 for horses, and I don't want to charge the chicken owners 40. Like, I think the 5, so we'll have to just break
Yeah.
that down a little bit better.
Yeah, sometimes they'll break it into like your size stuff, like cattle. You're looking at like cattle, you're looking at horses, or you're looking at commercial versus residential. So if you
Yeah,
had
this wasn't even touching anything.
Yeah.
It says nothing about commercial. That's all.
Right.
That's the
completely
third point on
separate.
there,
yeah. So that's the
Okay.
difference. It
Yeah.
depends. I'm just saying for like fines, fees, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. There'll be difference. You can do it. There's like some towns, not, I don't think Whitman does this or Rockland, but depending if you have over 50 chickens, it's a higher, more in-depth thing. Or if you have over 20 goats, or you have over certain numbers of animals, like it's
Right.
kind of like setting the backyard people.
I was about to say, this is a hobby homestead.
Yeah, versus a hobby versus
Right.
so that allows,
Because if you have 20 to 50, you're selling them, you're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
there's a
Okay.
difference in the purpose of having them. So if it's somebody that has 2 pet goats out back, and they put collars on them, and their kids take them for walks around the yard, right? Yeah. And I know there's people in town hall that have them. I know this, right? Like, seen them, know them, like, you know.
Yeah.
There's people in town hall that have them. There's more people than we think. Almost every neighborhood you drive through,
Yeah.
every street in this town you drive through, somebody on there probably has some kind of animal considered livestock through
Yeah.
rabbits, chickens, quail in the backyards. It's pretty popular stuff these days. And I don't think it's gonna go anywhere, so doing this, I think, is
Yeah.
a great way to keep track of
Yeah.
it.
So I think let's just kind of framing this out and let's get a copy of Whitman. Let's start to kind of pull some
Yeah.
stuff together. And Joe, maybe we can pull you back in on a couple months or so and keep moving forward
Yeah, I'm
with
happy
this.
to come down anytime, so.
Yeah, that'd be great. And because I think this experience is important to your experience, that is, to making sure we do this the right way. So
All right. Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do, though, in
Yeah.
general. With regulations. Yeah, save everyone, so,
all right, Joe, thank you. Appreciate your
you.
time,
Thank you
and
very
we will
much.
be in touch moving forward.
sounds good.
All right. Any further discussion on animal regulations before we move on?
No,
No,
that
that
was
was
good.
super
It's hard to
helpful.
top that.
Yeah,
It's, you know.
I know. Boom.
All right, hearing none, we may move on. Actually, I'm sorry, one other thing I just wanted to mention. So like I said, the stable regulation, the stable fee that we just voted as the town meeting warrant, that gets voted in. We'll just key that in as part of the regulation. It's better to retrofit it than to try and now we have to go back to town meeting later. We know we need to do it now, we do it now. So that was
Yep.
the thought process. So
No, I
I don't think I need to sell anybody, but just people at home and
Yeah.
whomever.
I don't think so.
What?
Do we have commercial farms? I don't think so.
I don't believe so, no.
And
And,
I think Rock Yard Farm counts.
I mean, regardless, looks like it's
She's over,
done by zoning, so we don't.
exactly, yeah.
We don't
She's
touch it.
over 5 acres and she uses it as income. I'll have to triple check, but I'm pretty sure. It's just her and one other maybe.
Moving on, Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you for the health agent report and announcements. Whichever order you'd like to do is fine.
I'll start off with announcements because they're brief. I'll just reiterate, I know I mentioned this at the last meeting, we no longer have free COVID test kits available. They have expired. We had to get rid of our stock. We have not gotten any indication that DPH will be supplying local boards of health with new ones. So go get tested at your doctor or buy an over-the-counter kit. We still are giving booster shots if anyone's interested, though, so you can make an appointment if you want to get the latest COVID booster. I wanted to mention that starting next month, we're going to be scheduling some CPR classes.
Yay, that's exciting.
So pay attention to the health department's social media. We'll have that up as soon as we have something set in stone. And the other big announcement that I figured would take a few minutes. So if anybody's looked at our trash regulations, one of the things in the trash regulations under penalties is that people are in violation. We're supposed to give them a notice the first time. They're supposed to get a written notice or a ticket on their trash tote. The second time the trash is not picked up, the third time it's a monetary fine. We have been unable to enforce our regulations because the specific regulation says that the tote needs to be tagged. So we have tags, which we are going to start implementing in the near future. The idea is we're not looking to fine anybody. What we're looking to do is educate residents on what's appropriate to go in the trash or recycling stream. So I brought one example to pass around so the board can look at it. But basically, these tags, our trash driver, our recycling driver, and our recycling education compliance officer would go out on trash days. If they notice a violation, they'll tag the barrel and then document which houses get it, and we'll keep a
Picture of that.
running list. So somebody on their first one, we may follow that up with a letter, with some helpful hints on proper recycling or trash, copy of the regulations if they need it.
Shredded paper can't go in recycling?
Nope, you can compost it, but it can't go in the recycling. It jams up the sorters.
It's reasonable.
And then third time, I believe it's a $50 fine.
What was number 2?
Number 2 is your trash isn't
Thank
picked
you.
up. Which we're trying to avoid too, because that's really kind of exacerbates the
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
Just a question for you. Is there certain, I'll call them taggable offenses that you see more than others that you haven't been able to tag for?
I mean, the most frequent violation that you see, and anybody will notice if you're driving around town, is overflowing trash. Your barrel lid is supposed to be closed completely. That's what you're allowed. That's the trash regulations. That's the contract we have with our municipal solid waste company. So that's the most noticeable one. Recycling, it actually requires us to flip the lids. So we have to have somebody going out, which is our recycling compliance officer, flipping the lids to look at what's in there. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed our trucks going around, but the recycling truck, the arm just picks it up and dumps it up above. The trash truck, it actually goes into a hopper on the front, so the driver is able to physically see what is going in. So that's why we'll be providing them with tickets as well. So again, the idea is to educate. We're hoping to catch people. The two things that we're looking to do with this, number one is hopefully begin to reduce some of our tonnage. We currently pay approximately $1.3 million a year for trash services. That's only gonna go up. By 2030, I think the last of several landfills are closing and the costs are gonna go up significantly. I think you're gonna see the state banning more items. That's why mattresses are now a banned item. So we're looking to keep that stuff out of the trash too. People think it's okay to be sneaky, put some construction debris in there without anyone noticing. If it gets caught at the tipping sites, the trash company gets fined, and then those fines get passed on to us, and then your taxes go up. So we're looking to save money down the road and also be better stewards of the
Yeah.
environment.
And Chris, that's a combined cost with the 1.3, right? Trash and recycling?
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Do you, before we implement this, I'm thinking, I don't know the last time I got something that said what is allowed, not allowed. I know we've gotten like, no, there's no more
Recycle
textile,
flyers.
but like a recycle flyer that just reiterates this is what's allowed, not allowed,
Mhm.
as we start this tagging process, I think would be really helpful. Like I said, I think I've only received one or two in the
Yeah,
last.
there's, I know the mailer that goes out every year with the trash calendar on it has a brief thing on the backside.
Right, but
But it's not a comprehensive list, like the shredded paper, I don't think is mentioned on there.
that's what I mean. So like, I don't know if even like just like
A health department
a
announcement.
postcard,
Mhm.
health announcement from the health department, tagging is going forward, and this is what's allowed, not allowed, just to kind of say like, we did tell you.
Yeah, agreed. And then especially, I think it should include, the steps that will happen. Like you'll get the notice, the ticket at first violation, then you're not gonna get your trash picked up, and then there'll be the $50 fine. So that way it's
Yeah.
not gonna be a surprise. It's gonna be like a warning,
The only issue with that is, we have a budget.
right?
That's what I was
the
just about to
town
ask.
approves,
Please
and-
put it
and
on
that's
social
not in our-
media.
Yeah, social media,
Yeah.
we plan on doing some education. We do have an SOP written for when we actually deploy these.
Okay.
So there's gonna be education for the drivers, for Eddie, who's gonna be going out,
Cool.
and flipping lids. And then, like I said, I think with the initial run, if we're tagging people, we'll send out a full packet targeted towards, I don't wanna call them offenders, but,
Yeah,
Are
those
you-
you have.
Are you able to share the SOP with the board, so if we get questions, we can help kind of direct and
yeah,
work with the?
yeah, I think, once we're closer to actually
Yeah,
implementing.
no, absolutely.
Yeah, we can definitely
When
do
is
that.
it gonna go into effect?
Soon, but not too soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to schedule a time to get the drivers in, so that we can sit down with them and make sure everybody's on the same page.
I think this is awesome. I just want to make sure that
Me
like,
too.
if all of a sudden you wake up and you've got this orange thing and people are gonna be like, do I owe? What do I do?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like just making
We
sure
are
that there's.
planning on doing a social media blast,
Perfect.
Okay.
working with Abington Cam, with our,
Sweet.
Facebook.
I mean, could you use the phone thing that you're using, Code Red
The Code
as well,
Red.
as a
Yeah,
reverse?
we could use that.
Just
We
as
have
a-
constant contact. I think we only have like 750 people signed up on that. I don't know how many people opted into Code Red, but we can,
Quite a few.
yeah, we can do that
It's
as
used pretty
well.
often, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think just making sure that, we get the word out so it doesn't feel as much.
Yeah,
of a
we don't wanna
shock.
surprise
It looks like
anybody.
it's parking
Right.
ticket, so which as it should.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
just wanna
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure.
the reality is we are going to surprise people. We'll-
Yeah, no matter what
I'm
you
sorry,
do.
the health department will surprise people with
Yeah.
that, but yeah, it's, anything we could do to lessen that is a good idea.
We're definitely setting a hard date for when we'll start implementing it, because I'll go on vacation that week.
Me nitpicking, is that whole thing adhesive?
Yeah.
Does it come off easy?
That's one thing we're waiting to see. We've had some discussions, and this will actually be written in the SOP, about whether or not, like, a corner will be tucked down to give people a place to
Yeah.
rip.
Right.
Um,
I'm just picturing ripping it off and then like you get the streak on there and you still have the orange and maybe they don't pick it up because they see the orange on there and
Yeah,
that could be an issue as well.
yeah.
So,
Um,
I will let you toy
Yep.
around with the paper on that. I
I'll
just,
start tagging my barrel and,
Yeah.
I'll report back. So, yeah, and we'll definitely bring it before the board again before something happens, because although you guys don't oversee the operations of trash, you do write the regs. So if there's any
Yeah,
adjustments.
this is part of the enforcement of our regulations, so that's fine. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope,
I was
that's it
gonna-
for announcements, unless anybody had any questions on that. Health agent report, I think I gave everybody a copy of that. I listed the inspections that we've had since our last meeting, only 2 re-inspects, so that's good. 2 fines issued, just for 2 separate establishments. And then complaints, we got a complaint about heat. So just a reminder to residents and for property owners, heating season is in effect. It is required by Massachusetts state law that daytime temperatures between 7 and 11 be 68 degrees and 64 at night. For some people, especially our older residents, 68 might not be comfortable, but that's the law. Their landlord's not required to have it any hotter than that, which was the basis of that complaint. And we had some mouse sightings at an establishment, and that is being dealt with through integrated pest management.
Great.
Okay.
And that was it.
Any questions or anything else? No, perfect. All right. Next is a vote to approve the minutes of January 22nd, 2024. Before anybody can say anything, I'm actually going to make a motion to amend the minutes because, make a motion to amend the section of the minutes that says vote to approve minutes 1/8/2024 because the vote should be 401, not 500.
Because we had one abstain.
Yeah, because I wasn't here at the previous
Wait, what was it supposed to be?
meeting. 401.
401. Thank you.
So I have a motion, I've made a motion to amend.
So Kevin, a motion
Yeah.
to adjourn, no, you could be part of that one, so 500 for that one was correct.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, so just a motion to amend the minutes to reflect on the approval of the previous meeting's minutes. 401
Thank you.
is my motion.
Second.
Yep, not a problem.
Yeah.
Second, Katie looked at me, so we'll do Katie.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Those are approved as amended.
Great.
Okay, and that'll be 302, Katie, when the.
Thank you. You see, my gears are already
It's-
turning.
It's all in good fun, all in good fun. Okay, and then public comment? Public, do you have any comment? No? Oh, yeah.
I would like, first and foremost, it's our first time to attend the meeting, and I think we've learned a lot. And secondly, it's to commend you for the good job that you're doing to the community of Abington. And the
That's
third
like
one,
the sweetest thing.
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
thank you. That's so kind. You see this over
if
here.
you go to the other towns, things are different. I'll say that, but we feel safe even with our kids and all that. I just have one question on the CPR classes. Do you have like the age of which to start? I know we have a teenager in the house right now, and I would love him to take the.
I would have to check with Lindsay, who's gonna be setting them up. I know you can do it for teenagers as well. I'm not sure if we'll offer a separate class. Sometimes we do separate ones for school age versus adults. But if you don't already, or if you're on Facebook, we have a Facebook page, Abington Health Department.
Okay.
Follow that, all the information will be up on there. And as we get closer, I'll make sure we mention it in our meetings as well.
Thank you.
Can I just get your name and address for the record? as well?
My name is Teresa Karuku,
Mhm.
and my husband Anthony Gatula, and we live in 302 Lincoln Street in
Okay.
Abington.
All right, thank you so much, I appreciate it, and thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the festivities.
Wasn't too boring.
All right, with that, correspondence. No, the only thing I will share, and I shared this with you a moment ago, I did receive a message through the town website from, I'll be honest with you, I don't remember who it's from, I know what they're doing. They are providing information about lung cancer screening to be put at retailers that sell cigarettes. obviously with their approval, but through health departments so that the inspectors can throw them up there with the business's approval. The goal is to, obviously help people, there's a couple of requirements, but help people get access to screenings sooner. And they thought that the point of sale for cigarettes might be a good thought for that. So I forwarded it along to Chris this morning, or actually, sorry, like 20 minutes ago. It felt like this morning. And we will correspond back and forth, see if that's something we can at least get some signage and ask around. But thought that was a cool thing to bring up, and we'll see how that moves forward. So
I just had my screening, I'm a big advocate for it. I should also mention, I don't know if this really falls under correspondences, but along those lines, several of our food establishments have been dinged on not having an updated allergen awareness poster or signage in the kitchen. And the feedback I got from several restaurants was they weren't sure where to get these posters. And when I went looking, it involved a lot of clicking to find them. So we spent some of our budget to purchase a quantity of them to provide to
Oh, nice.
restaurants if they want.
All right, thank you.
Sesame seeds has been added to the allergen.
I was just about to ask,
Yeah, I
it's
was
updated
about to
as
say
well,
that, yep.
so cool. All right,
Great. All right. Is that all for correspondence? Anything else?
That's it.
No?
motion to
All
adjourn?
right. Well, yeah, so motion by Amanda to adjourn.
Thank you.
Motion from Amanda to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second from Katie. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We are adjourned.